For nearly 1,000 years, the Tower of London has stood as a symbol of power, mystery, and fear. Behind these thick stone walls, kings and queens played deadly games of betrayal. Prisoners met gruesome fates, and restless spirits are said to roam the corridors to this very day. But what really happened inside this fortress? How did it become a place of execution, torture, and ghostly apparitions? Today, we step inside the Tower of London to uncover its darkest secrets. Our story begins in 1066, when William the Conqueror, fresh from victory at the Battle of Hastings, built this mighty fortress to cement his control over England. But what was meant to be a royal palace soon became something far more sinister. By the 12th century, the tower evolved into a notorious prison. High-profile captives, including fallen kings, disgraced nobles, and even queens, were locked away here, often never to be seen again. Imagine being trapped in these stone walls, hearing nothing but the distant clank of armor, the murmurs of guards, and the whispers of prisoners awaiting their doom. When the Tower of London is mentioned, one word often comes to mind: execution. Over the centuries, the tower's execution site became infamous. Though public executions were usually carried out at Tower Hill, a select few were granted the privilege of being beheaded within the tower walls, usually high-ranking nobles or royals, whose deaths needed to be discreet. One of the most famous executions was that of Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII. Accused of treason and adultery, Anne was sentenced to die in 1536. But unlike most condemned souls, she was granted a rare mercy: a swift death by a skilled French swordsman rather than the dreaded axe. They say that after her beheading, her lips still moved for several moments, whispering prayers in her final seconds. And then there was Lady Jane Grey, England's tragic 9-day queen. At just 16 years old, she was overthrown and sentenced to die. Her final moments were haunting. Blindfolded and unable to find the execution block, she whispered, "Where is it? What shall I do?" before a guard guided her hands. Moments later, her young life was cut short. But for some, death was not immediate. It was preceded by a slow, agonizing descent into pain. The tower's underground chambers housed some of England's most feared torture devices. The rack, the most infamous of them all, would stretch a prisoner's body until their joints popped out of place, one by one. Victims were left permanently disfigured, if they survived at all. Then there was the scavenger's daughter, a cruel device that did the opposite. Instead of stretching, it crushed prisoners into a fetal position, breaking their ribs and forcing blood from their noses, ears, and eyes. One of the most famous victims of torture was Guy Fawkes, the man behind the failed gunpowder plot of 1605. His body was so mangled by the rack that he could barely sign his own name on his confession. For centuries, visitors, guards, and even monarchs have reported ghostly encounters in the Tower of London. One of the most famous spirits is none other than Anne Boleyn herself. Guards have sworn they've seen her ghost standing in the chapel, staring blankly at them before vanishing into thin air. Then there are the princes in the tower. Two young boys, Edward Viffi and his brother Richard, who were allegedly murdered by their uncle, King Richard III. Their pale, sorrowful figures have been spotted near the bloody tower, sometimes holding hands, sometimes whispering in the dark. And if you ever visit the Salt Tower, be warned. Strange scratching sounds are often heard, as if someone is desperately trying to escape. Today, the Tower of London is no longer a prison, nor a place of execution. Instead, it is a historic site, drawing in millions of visitors each year. But beneath the bright lights and bustling crowds, its dark past lingers. The echoes of the tortured, the executed, and the betrayed may still be heard in its halls. So, the next time you visit, listen carefully. You might just hear the whispers of history calling your name. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the dark history of the Tower of London, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss our latest explorations into history's most haunted and mysterious places. Let us know in the comments, do you believe the tower is truly haunted? And which historical mystery should we uncover next?